Can parents be held responsible when their child commits a mass shooting? In this particular case, the teenage shooter has already been convicted. But as William Brangham reports, officials are also seeking to prosecute his parents in a case that could break new legal ground.
On November 30th, 2021, tragedy came to snowy Oxford High School in Michigan. A student opened fire, killing 4 students, injuring 7 others. The gunman, then 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, received a life sentence last year. But now, his parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, face their own charges of involuntary manslaughter. It is a first-of-its-kind effort to hold parents criminally responsible for a school shooting done by their child.
This case is unprecedented in Oakland County and perhaps the state.
Prosecutors say the Crumbleys knew Ethan was troubled, but acted negligently. James Crumbley bought for his son the gun he used to kill his classmates. Concerns flagged by the school went unheeded. The day before the shooting, on November 29th, Oxford High informed Jennifer Crumbley that her son was looking up ammunition on his phone. She texted him, "LOL, I'm not mad. You have to learn not to get caught." Hours before the shooting began, teachers discovered this worksheet on Ethan's desk, covered with violent warning signs. Below a drawing of a gun, he wrote, "The thoughts won't stop, help me," and "blood everywhere," and a drawing of a bullet. When a teacher saw the sheet, he scratched much of it out, including what appears to be a shooting victim, dripping with blood. Ethan's parents were called into school that morning, but officials say they resisted taking him home and made no mention of any gun. Shortly after they left, their son began his rampage.
This is part 2 of the Jennifer Crumbley trial. If you've missed part 1 of the opening statements, please go back and watch that video that was uploaded on January the 25th. So the first witness that they bring up is the teacher that was actually shot by Ethan during the event. And her testimony is so emotional, you guys. I'm going to play almost the whole thing. But get your tissue out, and viewer discretion is advised. It's sad.
So at some point, did you see or hear anything unusual?
Yeah, so all of a sudden I could hear a commotion in the hallway, and I looked up from my laptop, and I see a bunch of kids running through the hallway. It was a pack of kids, and they were moving pretty quickly, and there was a commotion around it. I couldn't tell if it was like excited, that it was like higher pitched though. And it was almost like some of the kids' hands were extended, like they were trying to move really quickly.
Okay, for the record, you have your hands, both your hands up, shoulder. Okay, and that seemed unusual to you?
It did.
Okay, did it seem unusual because of it was at the end of passing time, or just because of the movement and the sound?
It was the movement, it was the sound, it was the large bulk of kids that were moving.
What did you do?
I exited my office. I believe that there was possibly a fight. So I run out my office. I'm about midway through where 222 is. And I see all those kids exiting out of door 4. So I know there's not a fight.
So if you look at the map, you come out of your classroom and you look down the hallway and they're all running out of the school?
Yeah, on a door 4.
Okay, and that was unusual.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes, I had never seen that before.
All right. And then what happened?
I paused for a second because I'm thinking like, well, what's going on, right? I don't know what's happening. I head back into my office space. The hallway is completely clear. And I walk into my office and I'm like, all right, what could possibly be happening in this moment?
Was it unusual for the hallway to be completely clear?
I don't believe the bell had rung yet, so that was unusual.
Okay. And so what did you do?
It was in pausing, trying to like gather what to do next. I heard three things pretty quickly together, like so quickly together that I have a hard time distinguishing what came first and what came last. But there were the sounds of like three like loud pops that I could have mistaken for lockers closing if we were using lockers.
Okay. So when you heard the three pops, what did you think that sound was?
Well, again, there was doors started slamming. I could hear like boom, 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 boom. And then the principal at the time, Steve Wolf, came over the PA and said, we're heading into lockdown. This is not a drill.
And how long had you known Steve?
So a couple years at that point in time.
Okay. Did his voice sound panicked?
His voice sounded, it was like urgent, but you could tell he was like tempering any, like panic.
So was that before the loud pops or after, if you can remember?
Honestly, I cannot remember.
Okay. When you heard this, was your door open or closed?
My door, when I came back in, I pulled it, but it didn't shut. So it was open a couple inches.
Okay. So what did you do?
At that point in time, I moved to shut my door.
Okay. Did you, after the pop, did you smell anything?
No.
Did you see anything?
No.
All right. Then you tell the jury what happened when you turned around and headed to the door.
So I walked to the door. I immediately pull it shut. To the left of my door. So my door was here and there was a glass part, like, floor to ceiling glass. And then right here was a night lock system.
Can you tell the jury what a night lock system is?
So a night lock is a simple gadget that goes into the door that goes into the floor so that if the door were unlocked, it's like a second security measure. If the door was not locked, or even if it was, someone can't get in. So if the glass is shut out, even if they were trying to undo the door, they can't open the door.
And when did you learn about night locks?
Maybe 4 years prior.
Okay. Did you do that? Well, why did you install the night lock?
Well, one, I was directed that we're in lockdown,
Okay.
right? So as soon as I knew that we're in lockdown, that's what you do.
Did you install the night lock?
So I grabbed the night lock, I undid the piece, grabbed it, and looked down at it. So I also, some of the doors have different installs, whether the door goes, in or out from the room. And so I looked at it to see, just to remind myself which one, because the other office that I have at the middle school, or had at the middle school at the time, had a different.
At this point, Molly, the door is shut or closed?
The door is shut.
Are you facing the door or facing
I'm
away?
facing the door. So I'm close enough to that wall because I had just grabbed it.
Do you know about what the distance was between you and that door?
Not even a foot.
Okay. And then what happened?
I look at it, and out of my peripheral vision, I can see some sort of movement. And so I look up, and I see someone dressed in dark, oversized clothing.
And you're looking through that glass
Looking
pane
through that glass
next
pane.
to your door. Okay.
They have the mask on, a hat, glasses, and a hood. It was in pausing, trying to like gather what to do next. I heard three things pretty quickly together, like so quickly together that I have a hard time distinguishing what came first and what came last. But there were the sounds of like three like loud pops that I could have mistaken for lockers closing if we were using lockers.
Okay. So when you heard the three pops, what did you think that sound was?
Well, again, there was started slamming. I could hear like boom, 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 boom. And then the principal at the time, Steve Wolf, came over the PA and said, we're heading into lockdown. This is not a drill.
And how long had you known Steve?
So a couple years at that point in time.
Okay. Did his voice sound panicked?
His voice sounded, it was like urgent, but you could tell he was like tempering any, like panic.
So was that before the loud pops or after, if you can remember?
Honestly, I cannot remember.
Okay. When you heard this, was your door open or closed?
My door, when I came back in, I pulled it, but it didn't shut. So it was open a couple inches.
Okay. So what did you do?
At that point in time, I moved to shut my door.
Okay.
So I walked to the door. I immediately pull it shut. To the left of my door, so my door was here and there was a glass part, like, floor to ceiling glass. And then right here was a night lock system.
Can you tell the jury what a night lock system is?
So a night lock is a simple gadget that goes into the door that goes into the floor, so that if the door were unlocked, it's like a second security measure. If the door was not locked, or even if it was, someone can't get in. So if the glass is shut out, even if they were trying to undo the door, they can't open the door.
Well, why did you install the night
lock? Well, one, I was directed that we're in lockdown,
Okay.
right? So as soon as I knew that we're in lockdown, that's what you do.
Were you able to install the night lock?
So I grabbed the night lock, I undid the piece, grabbed it, and looked down at it. So I also, some of the doors have different installs, whether the door goes, in or out from the room. And so I looked at it to see, just remind myself which one had a different
At this
install.
point, Molly, the door is shut or closed?
The door is shut.
Are you facing the door or facing
I'm
away?
facing the door, so I'm close enough to that wall because I had just grabbed it.
Do you know about what the distance was between you and that door?
Not even a foot.
Okay. And then what happened?
I look at it, and out of my peripheral vision, I can see some sort of movement. And so I look up, and I see someone dressed in dark, oversized clothing.
And you're looking through that glass
Looking
pane
through that glass
next to
pane.
your door. Okay.
They have the mask on, a hat, glasses, and a hood. And I lock eyes with them.
Had you ever seen that person before?
I had not, no.
Did you know if it was a student or is that a no?
I did not know if it was a student.
All right. And you said you locked eyes?
I locked eyes. And then instantly I noticed, I see some movement. And so I looked down and I realized he's raising a gun to me.
Okay. Can you describe?
Yeah, the gun was black, and I remember thinking, as he's raising the gun to me, that there was no orange tip. I'd heard prior that BB guns have an orange tip.
When you say he was raising the gun, can you explain what that looked like? Was it one arm or two arms?
Well, I just saw the one starting to move up. I saw the gun, and I moved.
Which way did you move?
I moved away from the glass partition, away from the door, toward back into the room.
Okay. You just described you saw something in your peripheral vision. You looked up. You locked eyes.
I locked eyes. He didn't hesitate.
About how long was that from the time you saw the peripheral vision and then the gun was raised?
A second.
Okay.
If that.
When you locked eyes with this individual, what did you see?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Describe that for me.
I lock eyes with him, and I instantly see that movement. And I jump to the side.
What happened after you jumped to the side?
As I jump, I can.
And Did you ever get the night lock installed at that
The
point?
night lock is not installed at this point.
Okay.
So when I move, I kind of jump and turn my body this way at the same time
Okay, and you're, for the record, you're motioning, turning your
Yeah.
shoulders to the right.
to the right.
Mhm.
And I feel like my left shoulder moves back a bit, and I feel a burn like hot water had stung me
Where did you feel that?
in my arm,
Which arm?
in my left arm.
Okay.
Up
And
top.
pointing to your
Yeah.
right below your shoulder?
Yep.
Okay. And are you standing up? Are you sitting down? Are you?
I'm standing up at this point in time. I feel that hot burn go through my arm, and I turn back. There was a window in the back of my room that leads out to the courtyard, and I see a bullet hole.
Okay, I'm going to show you on the screen what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 6.
Any objection?
What is that, Molly?
That's the office that I shared.
Okay, and that, can you just describe where the desk is, where, what you just described and point that out? You said
Yep.
you turned around to the back of the classroom.
Yep. So you can see on that window exiting, there's a white mark.
Right there?
Yep. That would be the bullet hole.
Did you, is that what you noticed when you turned around?
That is what I noticed when I turned around. Correct.
At this point, what were you thinking?
A BB gun can't do that. It seems like really silly.
What seems silly?
That I couldn't wrap my head around what was happening.
I mean, after you felt the warmth and you still were thinking it might be a BB gun.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Was the night lock installed at this point?
The night lock's not installed at this point, and the only thing I'm thinking is I have to barricade this door. Like there was instinct that kicked in. So what you can't see is right around that corner, there was this huge filing cabinet.
And I think we can point so to the around that corner to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I grab it because I'm afraid to go back towards the door at this point in time. And I try to move it, thinking maybe I can pull it out enough and push it. And it was just too heavy for me. So that rolling cart was sitting next to it. That's when I pulled out the rolling cart and no, sorry, I take that back. I didn't do that yet.
Here's that.
I crawled down on my hands and knees and I put that night lock in. And then I moved for the roll. I was like, I just have to keep barricading. I just have to keep barricading. And so I grabbed the rolling cart.
Is the object in the?
Yeah, you can see it's the little red object on the rolling cart. Yep.
Oh, that's the night lock.
Yes.
Okay, but that it's sitting on that's the rolling cart, right?
Correct.
All right, and were you able to put it in front of the door?
I was able to put the rolling cart in front of the door. Correct.
Okay, and then what did you do?
Then the only thing I can think of is he's going to come back and finish what he wanted to do.
Could you hear anything else in the hallway?
At this point, I'm not hearing anything.
Okay. And so what did you do?
So I continue. I go back to that large cabinet because I know if I'm anywhere in the back of this room, he can see. So I need to hide in this front corner. And so I pull that that large filing cabinet back just enough to crawl behind it so that if he comes to that window, he can't see where I'm at.
So the way the classrooms are is you have to be at a certain angle to see certain parts of the room from the hallway, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said you moved to that corner behind because what?
Because I didn't want him to see where I was at.
Okay. Once you were behind the cabinet, were you sitting?
I was crouched down. I was trying to make myself as small as possible. Right. I got really low. I was on my bottom, crouched as close together physically as I could make myself.
Okay. What did you do next?
I had texted my husband, "I love you, active shooter." And then I started feeling blood dripping down my arm.
What did you do?
Um,
At this point, had you registered that you had been shot?
I don't think I was registering that I was shot. I just knew that I was bleeding.
Okay. What did you do?
I had a cardigan on that day. And so you can see in the photo, there's this red little bag on the side, on the right side of the wall. Those are, those are medical response bags that we keep in every room. So if someone's bleeding or if a tourniquet's needed, they're in there, but I was too afraid to go back and grab it. So, so at that point I knew I needed to put a tourniquet on. I knew I was bleeding. I removed my cardigan and I used one of the sleeves of the arm, wrapped it up on top and pulled with one arm and my teeth with the other to tighten it.
And Molly, how many inches down was that wound?
It sits right here.
Okay. And you brought a cardigan so that you could show the jury what that looks like so they know exactly where you were headed?
Yep.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you can all see okay, but
You can step down if you.
okay.
Everyone see? They can see. Yeah.
So you can see it kind of sits in the back. So when that was the entrance and the exit.
And there's 2 holes there.
Yep. So it entered here and exited here. And the space in between, the heat of the bullet cauterized
The skin.
the skin.
Okay. You can sit back down. You put the tourniquet where on your shoulder?
I put it above the wound.
Okay. How'd you know how to do that?
We go through trainings once a year regarding what to do.
Okay.
You know, in the situation.
What happened next?
I put the tourniquet on, and I'm in my head. I'm thinking, okay, what do I do next? What's like the next move here? And my daughter texts me. She didn't go to Oxford High School, but she went to a neighboring school district. And they had heard through social media that there was a shooting at Oxford High School. And so she sent me a message and just said, Mom, are you okay? And I responded to her that I love you. I'm sheltered in place. And I'm fine.
You didn't tell her you were.
I did not tell her I was shot, no.
I want to go back, and I'm so sorry. When the shooter raised his hand, what were your what did you notice about, if you noticed anything about his stance, or you said you locked eyes?
Yeah, his feet were set about hip distance apart. And that's, you know, he was, and his shoulders were like, he was square, right? He was square.
How long were you in that classroom?
I was in there for about 20 minutes.
Were you communicating with anyone else in the school or
Um,
law enforcement or administration?
No, there were a couple teachers. My hallway had a text thread, and that was not active. There was nobody texting on that. But another part of the building where the English Language Arts department is at, they were texting. And one of them said, I heard there was a shooter. And I responded that I saw one.
Did you respond that I'd been shot?
I did not.
Why is that?
I think I didn't want to like create panic. Like I wanted to make sure that people knew it was serious, but there's no, like, I'm okay.
Okay. At this point, did you have any idea where the shooter was, if anyone else had been hurt? What were you hearing? Anything?
Nothing. And it was absolute silence for a long time. And then I started to hear a volume of footsteps. And I thought, they must be evacuating a classroom. And so when that shift occurred, I texted the teacher next door and I said, hey, you're the only one that knows right now. but I've been shot. I hope I'm the only one.
How long was that? How long were you in the room then?
At that point, it was probably 18 minutes.
Okay. At some point, did somebody ask you to leave the classroom?
Yes. So the teacher next door was like, oh my gosh, I'm calling the office. There was another teacher in the room with her who texted administration.
Okay. And at some point, did somebody come to the door?
Yep. So the text from administration, Kurt Noose was at my door within maybe 2 minutes. Time's hard on that. And he was like knocking, Molly, are you in there? I've known Kurt Noose since they started in Oxford. I did not trust that was him at my door.
What were you afraid that it was?
I don't know. Everything that I knew to be reality wasn't.
So did you answer him back, or did you open the door, or did you just remain silent?
I said, I'm in here. And he said, are you okay? I don't remember how I responded. It was within a second or two that then there were police at the door, and they were like, are you in here? Are you injured? I said, yes. And then I said, do you want me to, it was clear that they wanted me to, like, they were there for me.
And they couldn't open the door.
They can't just open that door. That night lock prevents them from getting in the door.
And Molly, if you know, how would you get into that room if someone doesn't remove the night lock from the inside? Is there a way?
So I know there's a special tool to use, but you'd have to take everything off that door, and that's all steel.
So the frame, actually.
Yes.
Okay. And so they were asking you to remove the night lock. Did you do that?
I said, do you want me to remove the night lock? And they said, yes, remove the night lock. And then I said, do you want me to open the door? And they said, yes, open the door. And I'm down on the ground while I'm doing all of this. Like, I'm removing the night lock and I'm opening up the door from my knees. And they like scoop me up, and I can see the two officers that scoop me up, but I can see Kurt standing there against the lockers. And I can see 4 cops with guns.
Did you see any students?
I did not see any students, no.
So Molly, I'm going to play a surveillance, which is marked People's Exhibit 7, which I know there's an objection to, the judge has previously ruled. Just to let the jury know, you're not going to see any victims in this, except for Molly, nor are you going to see any students. While he's getting that out the monitor, when you say you saw 2 officers with guns, how far away were they? And were they in the same direction?
They were. When they scooped me up, the 2 that scooped me
Just
up.
have you look here.
Yep.
Is that the hallway?
That's the hallway.
Okay.
So you can see there's multiple around. So it wasn't just the 2.
Where's your classroom in this photo?
It's farther down, right? So you can see. Yep, like they're going inwards towards the classroom.
Okay.
It looks like that's an officer there.
Okay.
So I knew that they were officers based on the vests that they were wearing. And so they were just around, right, as well, like securing the area, I suppose.
Is that you, Molly?
That is me.
At this point, are you hearing anything in the building?
No, everything is silent, like almost like it's so, like echoey. It's so silent.
Okay, now you can see through that glass door. Is that you?
That is me.
What's happening?
He's removing the self-made tourniquet from my cardigan. And he's putting on an actual tourniquet.
Okay. And at some point you get into an ambulance, correct?
Yes. So at this point, he says, I'm going to radio to see if there's an ambulance available for you. Making sure that no one else needed it ahead of me.
You eventually get into an ambulance. They take you where?
They took me to Lapeer.
What happened when you got there?
So I get to Lapeer, and the doctor comes out to the ambulance and introduces himself. And they said, I was sitting in the ambulance the entire time, and then they said, we're going to put you on the gurney. And I said, I can walk. Like, if I can walk, I want to walk. And so they helped me out of the ambulance, and I walk in, and they're like steadying, you know, like kind of almost holding me up, steadying me. And the hallways are lined with doctors and nurses.
Did you see any other victims?
I did not, no.
Okay. And they treated your wound?
They did.
Okay. Did you learn at some point there were other victims?
I did ask when I was in the hospital, is anybody else been injured? And I was, you know, I was told that there were other victims and a few fatalities, yes.
Molly, is that your classroom door?
It is my, yes.
Okay. What was your reaction when you saw that?
He was aiming to kill me.
Do you know which one of those shots landed in your shoulder?
I don't. I have no idea which one landed in my shoulder, but I know the top one, that's where my head would have been. And the two down below are my chest area.
Okay.
I unlock that door every day.
What is your, when you think about the wound and why you weren't hit, why was it in the chest?
That door, the distance, the door, and me moving was the only reason that I'm alive.
How many inches from your heart was that injury to your shoulder?
The actual wound is 6 inches. But my turn might have made it less.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have nothing further, Your Honor. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Well, she was definitely a very powerful witness. Bless her heart. Oh my goodness. Can't imagine what she went through that day, and how she was recalling it all was just so intense. I mean, the smell, the sounds. Oh, it's amazing. But what I was saying earlier I didn't want to interrupt while the trial was going, but think about it. These people are having to endure this 3 separate times now. First, they had to sit through Ethan while he was going through trial, or his whole plea deal or whatever it was. And then now they're having to sit through the moms. And then after this, they'll have to sit through the dads. One thing I think is interesting is that one thing I did think was interesting was that the defense attorney chose not to cross on her. And I get it. They're waiting for the stuff that only applies to James and Jennifer possibly being guilty, and they don't want to shed any more light on these victims. And the testimony that involves the actual event itself. So I get that part. Anyway, thank you guys for being here with me. I have another one coming up here shortly. I do want to do an update on the assistant principal, so be on the lookout for that later on today. Thank you all. Have a blessed day.